Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. It's been a while since we've done one of these. I believe it was July, the last time we did one of these. And I'm not going to lie to you, I don't really remember where we are. I believe we read the militaristic Play-Doh, and not the perfect porcelain doll. So we're probably at the perfect porcelain doll, followed by nesting dolls, the big orange forklift, Eye of the Forest, and disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. So, let's check out the perfect porcelain doll and see if I'm right about that being where we are. I don't really want to be looking at that anymore, but I hope it's not a GIF. Are you a GIF? Better not be a GIF. You better not be a GIF. Not like that last time. So, SCP-706 is to be housed in a humanoid containment cell at Humanoid Containment Site 6-3, which has been modified with padded walls and minimal sharp edges. It is to be provided with a 1.2 kilograms of kaolin and ceramic glaze daily in addition to its regular diet. It used to say, handling personnel are allowed to provide 706 with non-standard items such as vanity mirrors, extra clothing as outlined in Document 706-E, and a paintbrush set with a ceramic enamel paint as an incentive or reward for good behavior. I just want to say that I find it ironic that if I had done this video last Monday, then I would have been starting with an SCP-706 on my birthday, and my birth time is 7:06 p.m., and I think that's cool. But anyway, 706 is currently contained under suicide watch procedures and is to be restrained at all times except when undergoing testing. It is, what is it, she? Is it or she? It says itself, so I guess it's it. It is to be given daily therapy sessions until further notice. 706 is an adolescent European-American female identified as blankety-blank, 12 years of age according to local records at the time of initial containment. Records also indicate that 706 has been homeschooled throughout its life and that neighbors rarely saw it outdoors. 706 is physiologically normal with the exception of an abnormally high resting body temperature of approximately 38.5 degrees Celsius. I don't really know what that is. And that its entire epidermis is composed of porcelain, with the exception of small areas around its joints. This layer is extremely fragile due to its thickness and can crack or break when subjected to impacts or even with excessive movement, a process that is reportedly extremely painful. 706 is capable of regenerating this skin layer at a rate consistent with normal skin growth when provided with and allowed to consume appropriate raw materials. Unfinished materials such as kaolin are acceptable and preferred. 706 has no particular resistance to tissue damage resulting from the ingestion of hardened porcelain. Unless otherwise directed, 706 will compulsively maintain its appearance, typically involving looking at itself in mirrors and using any available makeup or paint to apply, remove, or adjust its features. 706 will become distressed and uncooperative if not provided appropriate materials with which to maintain its materials, or if denied the ability to inspect its own appearance. 706 was recovered from Blank, Texas, following a police report involving a violent domestic dispute at a suburban residence. 706 was discovered in a back room of the residence, surrounded by a large pile of destroyed remains from several dozen porcelain dolls and multiple sets of fine china dinnerware, with most of the porcelain mass having been consumed. Class A amnestics were administered to responding law enforcement personnel in a cover story given to local media. Addendum 1, recording transcript. The following audio recording was taken from a damaged digital camcorder found within the Blank residence. Irrelevant content redacted for brevity. Mrs. Okay, sweetie, one more time, okay? Slamming sound, presumed to be a door. Mr. Blank. I've had enough of your goddamn caterwauling. Will you just shut the fuck up? Daddy? Honey, you and your fucking princess shit and your fucking awful music. Honey, you're drunk. Daddy, please stop. Oh, your goddamn girly bullshit can go to fucking hell. Honey, please. Cameras knocked over as the sound of a struggle ensue. No further videos recorded. Well, what more do you want? You know I can't have sounds of an altercation. Mommy, Daddy, please. Oh, is that it, huh? You're finally gonna do it. Is that it? Please stop. You can't give me a fucking son and you're gonna pull a fucking gun on me. Is that it? Please just go away. Well, do it. Pull the fucking trigger. Sounds of struggling. 2 gunshots are heard. 706 screams. Single gunshot. More screaming. Interview transcript. This interview was taken shortly after initial containment and prior to current containment procedures. Interviewer Dr. Blank, subject SCP-706, date blankety blank blank. Interview conducted within 706 containment cell. It is seated at a table, brushing its hair while examining itself in the vanity mirror. Do you have any idea how this happened? Because I want it to be a doll. Why is that? My mom had dolls. Lots of dolls, old dolls. Tell me about them. She kept them in a glass case. She showed me them when I was little, told me how much they meant to her, how much she loved them. But you wouldn't want to be locked in a glass case, would you? Why did you want to be a doll? Because she loved them. Because Mommy loved them and Daddy loved her, and if I could be like a doll, then she would love me too. Dolls don't cry. They don't need to be fed or cleaned after or taken care of. They just sit, beautiful and perfect. If I was perfect and beautiful, then everything would be okay. If I were like a doll, then they wouldn't have to fight anymore. We could be a normal family and we would be happy. I just want to go home. Mommy, please, just let me go home. Interview terminated. Researcher note, 706 has become increasingly detached and unresponsive to personnel since initial containment. She has also taken to intentionally breaking off pieces of her skin in order to remove undesired features, a practice that is beginning to seriously threaten her health. A revision to containment procedures to reflect this self-destructive behavior has been filed with site administration and is currently under review. Also, they changed how the ads look. They look fake now. Anyway, nesting dolls. I wonder if these dolls will be as weird as that doll. Well, they're safe and kind of cute. I mean, the middle one is cute. The small one looks annoyed, and the top one is uncomfortable. So, SCP-707 is kept disassembled. No disassemble Johnny 5, and a double-lock secure locker at Site Blank. Experimentation may only be performed with prior written permission from at least 2 Level 3 personnel. Once assembled, 707 may only be handled by disposable dudes. 707 is a Matryoshka doll, or Russian nesting doll, consisting of 1 center doll and 4 separating outer layers. The doll is painted in a primarily blue color palette, and dating of the materials, while inconclusive, shows it is approximately blank years old. When a living human subject removes 1 or more layers of 707 from a fully assembled state, its anomalous effect will occur approximately 10 minutes later. The severity of this effect is dependent on how many layers are opened. 1 layer, subject's hair and nails will painlessly and completely fall out. This includes internal hair and cilia, such as that within the nose and ears. The hair thing is interesting, the nails sounds awful. Well, it's painlessly and completely, but 2 layers. The subject's skin will split, separate, and fall off. The loss of skin is painless, but exposed internal tissue has been described as being very sensitive, and even a touch can cause bleeding. 3 layers. Their muscles will detach from the connecting tissue, including the diaphragm and heart. 4 layers. The subject's organs separate and detach. How many of these things are they alive for? These effects are cumulative and sequential, and will occur over the course of only a few seconds after the 10-minute mark. So, they'll do the thing, and then 10 minutes later, they're like, oh, well, that was a pop, 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 bones. These effects are cumulative and sequential, blah, blah, blah. No subject to date has survived the separation of more than 1 layer of 707. Well, okay, well, there you go. After the first layer, well, oh, more than 1 layer, because 2 layers, there goes the skin, poke, bleeding. Makes sense. However, despite the incredible trauma inflicted by the separation of 2 or more layers, brain activity monitors have determined that subjects are fully conscious and aware of their condition for up to several minutes after the separation event until the subject expires, typically through blood loss or asphyxiation. Addendum 1. The requested use of 707 as an efficient method of procuring viable transplant organs for Foundation uses is under review. That's fucked up. But so's the Foundation, so fair enough, fair enough. Now it's time for the big orange forklift. Is it Bob the Builder's big orange forklift? Was this forklift even orange? I have no idea. SCP-708 is to be stored in a warehouse in Sector 19, pending further research. Keys to the ignition lock of it are to be kept in a secure lockbox at Site 19, accessible only by Dr. Beans, or Lentils Peas. Whatever. With a spare set and a secure lockbox maintained by Dr. Harrigan. Neither set is permitted to be accessed without the consent of at least 1 Level 4 personnel. Personnel attempting to make use of 708 or gain access to either of its keys are to be immediately detained and must undergo a psychological evaluation. Keys are to be used in an alternating fashion so as to not cause excessive wear to them. Description: SCP-708 is an orange Toyota Model SFD-U807 series forklift with a typical lift capacity of 8 metric tons. Records indicate that it was purchased by Redacted on July 13th blank and delivered on July 30th blank. 708 came to the Foundation's attention when 3 construction workers employed by Redacted, while operating the machine, strayed completely from their duties, seeking out objects to lift throughout the city of blank, New York. One other construction worker, however, immediately attempted to destroy all members of the crew working at the job site. At this point, the Foundation launched an investigation and quickly turned to 708 as the culprit, which was proven when Agent Blank attempted to move the vehicle onto a Foundation transport, and upon starting the vehicle, attempted to lift the transport instead. Upon maintaining visual contact with 708 for more than 20 seconds, all subjects are rendered into a state of enthusiasm. These subjects will exclaim joyous remarks related to riding the big orange forklift, not unlike a child. This is often accompanied by high-frequency sounds and hopping up and down, as a child in an excited temperament would. Due to the reported annoying effect of these actions, many researchers are compelled to allow the subject to board and operate 708. If a subject is already engaged in operating it, then those who were previously compelled to operate, and those who maintain visual contact with the object, report a feeling of jealousy, wishing to remove the current operator. Restraining subjects who express a desire to operate 708 will lead to continued emotional outbursts such as are common amongst young children. Had they considered duct tape? Or ball gags? Probably use duct tape. Ball gags that can get, like, saliva-y. At this point, it is vital that any subject with a violent history, criminal or otherwise, be restricted from boarding and operating 708 due to the incident on April the 25th blank, which resulted in the loss of blank researchers and blank maintenance crew. And it's not in here, so I guess we'll never know what that was. Upon boarding and starting 708, a range of reactions can be observed. Subjects with a violent past express the urge to eradicate anything immediately obvious to them, making use of the heavy lifting capacity of the vehicle, and will do so with the earliest opportunity. Subjects with no violent past, however, express a desire to lift all objects that they notice. This occurs in order from lightest to heaviest weight at the subject's estimation. Subjects with a mildly violent past have behave initially as subjects with no record of violence, but soon tire of this course and seek to destroy objects at first, and subsequently human beings, lifting heavy objects and using the forklift as a makeshift battering ram. No fuel has been added to the vehicle since the Foundation's acquisition, nor does the vehicle produce any detectable emissions. It has been theorized by Dr. Pease that 708 may feed on a driver's enthusiasm. This theory is supported by an apparent weariness after the driver has been in contact with the vehicle for more than approximately 1 hour. It has also been recently noted that the vehicle itself does not offer any restraint to the driver besides the driver's own resistance towards leaving the vehicle. Despite the related exhaustion, drivers cannot be removed from 708 without the use of deadly force. All forms of tranquilizer have failed on drivers, presumably due to the amount of adrenaline produced by the driver's body. Attempts to remove the driver by multiple assistants have failed completely, resulting in termination being considered the only option to remove the driver from 708. To date, blank test subjects have been terminated due to testing. It sounds like they didn't even try to use a baseball bat. Did you try to use a baseball bat? I'm pretty sure that if you just took a baseball bat to the joints of their limbs and then their face, they would have at least passed out hard enough to get off the whatever. The eye of the forest. Ooh. It's safe. It looks like one of the enemies in Destiny 2. Like the big purple eyeball robot things that shoot you and then you blow them up and get a treasure chest in the middle of the field. Anyways, SCP-709 is currently set up in Tafatu, Sector 28. Any staff member is permitted to access the sphere, provided that they schedule the time in advance so as to avoid conflict. Disposable dudes wishing to use the sphere require permission from their direct supervisor. Description: 708 is a spherical treehouse, assembled from a kit provided by the Blank Company of Vancouver Island. It has been furnished as a small apartment suitable for overnighting. When a person looks out the window for a period of more than 3 to 5 minutes, they will begin to see what appears to be alternative versions of the forest and its inhabitants, such as a 4-winged bird, or a range of bipedal cougars walking down a trail. That sounds strange. These visions are not consistent between viewing sessions, or between observers during a single session. They can be recorded with conventional video or film equipment, but the equipment will not record the same sites as living observers. Neither will different cameras record the same images even during simultaneous recording sessions. Addendum: 709 first came to the Foundation's attention when its owner began to complain to his psychiatrist of hallucinations connected to the treehouse. One of our contacts, the psychiatrist, informed us... I guess the psychiatrist was one of the contacts, informed us of this anomalous case. After a covert visit to the treehouse of blankety-blank, Agent Talamore reported that the sphere was, in fact, an SCP candidate. On her recommendation, the psychiatrist encouraged her patient to replace the sphere. Posing as a local rubbish removal company, a team of agents collected the original sphere and installed it in the taffeta. The original owner no longer complains of hallucinations and ascribes his visions to a simple imagination. Addendum 2. Personnel who have made use of 709 are encouraged to record their observations in Observation Log 709. It's not that long. Let's check it out. Record of observations made from 709. Please include your name, the date and initial time of observation, and the length of the time spent. Number 1. Agent Talamore. 23 minutes and 15 seconds. That's when they were there. 20 minutes observation. Observed a family of raccoons playing in the snow wearing mittens and boots. They made and threw snowballs, built a snow raccoon, and otherwise engaged in normal winter activity. Oh, that's adorable. Agent Thompson was there for 23 minutes in June. I think that's June. Might be January. Let's say January, because snow. Several species of wildlife, including bears, deer, wolves, birds, sheep, raccoons, and squirrels, all of which were bipedal, engaged in warfare, using current-day automatic weapons and several futuristic laser cannons. Dr. Blank on whatever day this is, August the 1st. They observed for 30 minutes at noon. Large tree-like being, which moved a total of 4 feet during observation, appeared to wave branches several times and data expunged. A large viper-like lizard with gliding wings that appear to be part of the ribcage. A small family of grizzly bears, which appear to have tongues similar to those of the chameleon, as well as a second set of limbs midway down the ribcage. Data expunged, aware of observation. Level of awareness appears to be minimal, and the subject's physical dimensions limit any possibility of interaction. Agent Carrion Trooper, that's not a name. 50 minutes. Velociraptors hunting a Parasaurolophus. Whatever. Parasaurolophus. Velociraptors hunting something. They used obsidian knives to butcher the meat and carried bag-like containers where they put the rest of the meat. They left the scene after butchering the Parasaurolophus. Shortly after they left, the small unidentified dinosaur scurried to the carcass and ate bits of it. Agent Hunter and a video camera. For 45 minutes at 17:10 approximately. Agent. At first, a child was seen flying about on a rocking horse, chased by what appeared to be a small friendly flock of bird. The birds did not match any native species after they had flown. Several trees were seen to fall, despite not hearing a sound that would explain their fall. Finally, a herd of miniature elephants the size of ponies walked past. The camera did not record anything. To be more precise, it recorded what appears to have been a single still image. It includes at least 2 birds in mid-flight, accompanied with the normal sounds of a forest. Dr. Light! 60 minutes at 8:30 in the morning on whatever time of year this is. A single organism of variable size and shape, which emerged from a nearby body of water and proceeded over the following hour to recreate the stages of human evolution. It began as an early amphibian and slowly began to grow legs, arms, fur, teeth, becoming bipedal, and using sticks as tools. Once the organism reached the current stage of human development, it continued developing for approximately 5 minutes, gaining longer fingers and toes and larger eyes while diminishing in stature, until it was abruptly consumed by what appeared to be a very fast, very large SCP-682. Dr. Light notes that while slightly disturbing, the process was scientifically fascinating, and I wish I could have recorded it. Dr. Garcia. 25 minutes at 14:45, which I guess is 2:45 in the afternoon on November 11th, because there's no mistaking what date that is, at least. The environment appears to be flooded to a depth greatly exceeding the altitude, whatever, of the observation position, with a fluid inferred to consist of liquid methane based on blank. Neither the surface nor the bottom of the sea could be observed, and lighting conditions were very poor. A group of manta ray-like bioluminescent organisms, each exceeding 40 meters in body length, swam past the observation point at one point. Agent Poe. I guess that's March 20th. Time, 17:40, 15 minutes. A huge and oddly distorted human face that emerged from just above the viewpoint. It stared directly at the agent for several minutes before data expunged. A number of human-like creatures were seen to form out of the remains, all of which seemed to be aware of their observer. Dr. Chestnikov. 38 minutes. A single male pan-troglodytes, common chimpanzees, appeared from the southwest into the view of the observation point carrying the following. Blank brand smoothie cup in left hand with a violet liquid visible through transparent straw, nondescript smartphone in its mouth, and a novel entitled Blank under its right arm. The chimpanzee made its way to a tree and proceeded to climb upwards until it reached a branch eye level with the observer and approximately 30 meters away before sitting. For the rest of the event, the chimpanzee stared intently at the pages within the book, occasionally sipping from its smoothie and checking its smartphone. This continued for 37 minutes until it suddenly stood and climbed back down, leaving from where it entered. Researcher Karen, 23 minutes at 11:32 on June 5th. A group of 5 suricata, meerkat, riding in an assortment of 4-wheeled vehicles, similar to quad runners. All 3 were wearing leather vests, on the backs of which were embroidered a large sun in the middle with a halo on top, the word Sun Angel surrounding. Coordinating via unintelligible chirrups and barks, they seemed to be searching for something. After about 10 minutes, they formed a large circle, dismounted their vehicles, and began moving inward. When the circle was about 25 meters in diameter, something sprang from the underbrush at about the center and tried to escape. After turning around and seeing that it was surrounded, it tried to make a last stand. The central figure looked like a wolf hominid. The 5 clan members closed in and eviscerated the wolf creature using their long claws, claiming victory when one of the clan held the wolf's head aloft. A visibly shaken researcher Karen noted, "I'm never going to be able to watch The Lion King after that." Dr. Zara, April 10th, 2012, 11:17 in the morning for 45 minutes. Plant life unchanged, fauna not visible except for a single enormous horse slowly tracking to the west. Atmospheric dimming suggests the horse to be at least 20 kilometers away and more than 5 kilometers in height. Researcher Ford, 10 minutes, December. Researcher Ford looked thoroughly confused upon exiting the treehouse. He then explained that he had seen 4 men in lumberjack attire gathered around a log. None of the men had any apparent facial features. One carried a trumpet that appeared to be made of brass and was holding it next to where a mouth would be. Another was dribbling a basketball between both hands. The third carried a birdcage containing a gray bird similar to a pigeon. The last had a jar of peanut butter and a plastic knife that it was using to butter the log. Researcher Ford was oddly concerned with the fact that the peanut butter jar didn't seem to run out even after 10 minutes of spreading it on the log. This was noted as within normal parameters and did not warrant any psychological testing. Dr. Gums, 42 minutes approximately. A swarm of insects resembling Vespa mandarinia, Asian giant hornet, were observed to be feeding on the burnt corpse of an unidentified mammal. After about 10 minutes, a live version of the mammal, seemingly on fire and led by what appeared to be a bipedal Crocodilus porus saltwater crocodile, appeared in view. The bipedal crocodile proceeded to tear off a low-hanging branch of a nearby tree and carve it into a crude approximation of a flute. About 20 minutes in, it played the makeshift flute, causing the hornets to spasm uncontrollably for a period of about 5 seconds and cease motion. The mammal proceeded to systematically crush and consume the hornets for the duration of the observation. Dr. Miller, for 17 minutes, a line of approximately 200 aardvarks, Orycteropus afer, marched past the observation post 2 by 2. The aardvarks were colored with various bright patterns in a tie-dye fashion. Dr. King, exactly 5 minutes. Dr. King came out exactly 5 minutes after having entered, swearing profusely. Eventually, he calmed down enough to explain what he saw. As soon as the vision began, the forest immediately filled with apple seeds up to just below the treehouse. It was at that point that he decided he was done testing it. Agent Masterson, 8 minutes. 2 entities appearing as human females approximately 20 years old, roughly 4 inches tall and possessing iridescent translucent wings on their backs, flew up to the observation window. They appeared to engage in conversation regarding Agent Masterson, with frequent pointing to him and attempts to look through the window. They then flew off. Lastly, Dr. Smith, 9:15 in the morning for 69 minutes on June 23rd, 2017. 12 gray kangaroos, Macropus giganteus, entered view, followed by 6 giant pangolins, Smutsia gigantea, which were carrying rolled up mats. One kangaroo commenced striking the pangolins with a staff, and the pangolins quickly unrolled the mats onto the ground. 2 kangaroos went to the head of the area covered, while the others observed. The kangaroos then bowed to each other, and the kangaroos at the front began demonstrating various fighting maneuvers. And then the other kangaroos commenced imitating them. The pangolins remained motionless alongside the mats. After 15 minutes, the first 2 kangaroos began another series of fighting actions, and again the other 10 imitated repeatedly for 15 minutes. Then all the kangaroos bowed to each other again and left the mats. One kangaroo again started striking the pangolins with its staff, which then quickly rolled the mats back up, and all 18 entities left the area. Alright. So, that brings us to the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. Well, it's Euclid, and there's subject disposable dude after falling asleep shortly before expiration. I guess they disappeared. SCP-710 is to be cordoned off by a perimeter fence with consistent patrols, and all roads leading into the site must be guarded with armed checkpoints. All airspace above 710 is considered a no-fly zone, which must be constantly monitored and enforced. Any violations of these security measures by unauthorized intruders can be resolved with the use of lethal force if necessary. It is forbidden to use any Foundation personnel to enter 710 without level 4 clearance. Only disposable dudes and unmanned reconnaissance vehicles may enter 710 for research purposes. Should containment fail, immediate airstrike of the area, of the whole area, and the 5-mile radius is authorized. So, SB-710 is an abandoned suburban housing development located in blank. However, any and all organic life that enters 710 will eventually disappear without a trace. Exactly how or why this phenomenon occurs is currently unknown, but video recordings of test subjects have revealed several distinct stages. Initial stage. Subjects show no outward sign of anything wrong, however there's a noticeable anxiety and stress related to a sudden shift to a new environment, as well as the naturally foreboding atmosphere 710 produces due to its abandoned state. Subjects still respond to external stimuli normally. Middle stage, after about a week. They begin to establish a daily routine through a combination of self-interest, boredom, and orders from Foundation staff. At this point, early symptoms of exposure appear. They become much more lethargic than normal and exhibit signs of physical and mental fatigue. However, these symptoms are light and easily countered through a specialized medication. They show a decreased response to external stimuli. Late stage, exposure 10 to 12 days. The symptoms shown in the middle stage of exposure begin to worsen. Also, the subjects begin to slowly become transparent. However, none of the subjects appear to notice these phenomena. Instead, the subjects will continue with the daily routine they had set during the middle stage with slight variations. Late stage subjects show almost zero response to external stimuli and appear to be completely unaware of their condition. The terminal stage at 2 weeks. Subjects become completely transparent, with a faint silhouette being the only visual marker of their presence. The symptoms of fatigue increase significantly as shown from the movements of terminal subjects as well as their unwillingness or inability to respond to external stimuli. Subjects will no longer follow through with their daily routine, and will instead wander 710 aimlessly, still unaware or uncaring of their current condition. Expiration, 15 days. Subjects will essentially fade from existence. No physical evidence of their presence remains, and attempts to track their movements and whereabouts after expiration have so far proven unsuccessful. So far, there seems to be no way to counteract the effects of 710. Tests with disposable dudes show that once middle stage symptoms manifest, the process is impossible to prevent or reverse. This leaves a small window of only several days for personnel to enter 710 without risk. The exact cause of this phenomena is currently unknown. All that is known is that 710's ability to manifest at sometime in 19-something, causing the disappearance of approximately a lot of people. The event was covered up as a natural disaster. Notes: it's no coincidence that 710 manifested so suddenly and randomly. Perhaps it had something to do with the data expunged event? The dates certainly correlate. Perhaps, or it's something we haven't thought of yet. We need to get a team in there, not just a bunch of random disposable dudes. They're too unreliable. There must be something hidden in that town. 05 blank. Action after debriefing. Doctor, did you find anything of importance? Researcher blank. No, but there's only so much ground you can cover in 48 hours, especially when you have to spend a good chunk of that time just setting up and then bugging out when the timer's almost up. Blank is a big place and we need more than half a day to explore any decent portion of it. Okay, then let's diverge a little. What were your initial impressions of 710? There's certainly something monumentally spooky about the place. Probably just the fact that it's so hard to imagine such a big town where with so many people could just appear abandoned like that. We also ran into Batch 35, who were all in terminal stage by that point, which scared the shit out of us when we first ran into them. Plus, it was just so quiet. I never thought I would actually miss the sound of birds singing. Is there anything else that you would like to add? That I never want to go back there again. When the birds don't cry, you can hear things that are better left ignored. Researcher Black and his team are currently suspended from active duty pending the results of a full psychological screening. Alright. Cool. I guess. Not really. Oh, I can rate these. But I can't rate them because I don't have an account and I ain't making one. So, that about does it for this episode of Let's Read the SP Foundation Wiki. I believe this is episode 151! Wow, we now have as many episodes of this as there are the first generation of Pokemon. So this has been Anashi Sasuke. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you need to do either one of those things. In the next one, we're going to do Paradoxical Insurance Policy, The Impossible Colors, Click Anywhere Computer, The Jaded Ring, and My Face That I May Be. So, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later!